Okay. So what type of pre-processing is going to depend upon whether we have a numeric variable or a categorical variable. So if you have a numeric variable or a continuous variable, it can be a continuous variable or an integer variable. So we will look at what kind of pre-processing that we can do. All right. And then if you have categorical variable, and the categorical variable can be ordinal or nominal. Okay, ordinal will be ordered. It has a more or less kind of thing, low, medium, high. Okay, and then nominal will be unordered. Okay, there is no ordering of the values. Okay, now typically, if you have a numeric variable, you really very often don't need any pre-processing. Okay, you can use the variable as is in most cases. Okay. But sometimes, okay, like in naive Bayes, you need the variable to be binned. So if you have like age going from anywhere between 15 and 95 or something, and you want to bin them as okay, less than 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, and that kind of stuff. So that is what is called binning. So in some cases, numeric variable may need to be binned. Okay? And in some other cases, you may need the variable to be rescaled, especially in situations where the magnitude of the value may have an undue impact on the model. So then you want to rescale the variable. Okay? So a couple of rescalings, so you can have log transformation, or you can do normalization. So we'll look at examples of that. So that's the kind of pre-processing that you need for numeric variables. Mostly don't need anything, but you may need binning or rescaling. Now, categorical variable, okay, often you're not going to be able to use it as is, except in some special cases. Like, for example, naive Bayes, you don't need to do any pre-processing. And decision tree, again, you don't need any pre-processing. It'll work as is. Okay. But in techniques that are model-based, like regression analysis and neural networks, that kind of stuff, you need to convert these variables into numeric variables. So if you have an ordinal variable, okay, low, medium, high, very high, so you can code them in increasing order of numbers, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And that's not ideal. Sometimes you may be able to use that kind of coding and then use them as numeric variables. And that's, again, one more time, that's not a preferred approach. Okay. But then what you need to do is to define binary dummy variables. So for each value, you'll have what is called a dummy variable, which is to identify whether that observation belongs to that category or not. Okay. So if you have low, medium, high, 3 possible values, then you'll have 3 dummy variables. Okay. If the value is low, then you'll have a 1 for low, 0, 0 for medium and high. If it is medium, then you'll have 1 for medium, and you'll have 0 and 0 for the other 2. So that way, okay, you will convert a categorical variable into a numerical set of variables. So one variable now becomes several variables. Okay? So you can define one dummy variable for each level in the category. Okay? So that's your dummy variable, and there is one more thing about dummy variable that we need to talk about, but we will do that a little later. Okay. So now let's look at change. Okay, factor. So we're going to look at some preliminary things, and then we will do the dummy variable. So how do you create dummy variables for a categorical variable? So you have one variable, and that's going to now expand into several dummy variables, right? So that's what we are going towards. Okay. Reviewing variables. So how do you review variables? Um, you want a list of names. Okay, I think we already did this. So if you say names, housing DF, that will give you a list of names. Okay. Now names works for not just data frame, it works for matrices and arrays as well. So we have for data frame, we have what is called, so let's capture that column call names. Okay, no. Okay, now housing DF. Now if you can look at C names, it will have the column names in it. So C names is a vector. Okay, so the names are now captured into a vector. Okay. Now how do you change the class of a variable? Okay, especially if you use strings as factor equal to true. Okay, remember we talked about this last time, and when you use the read CSV, when you use this option, okay, all the categorical character variables will be automatically converted into a factor. So that's why when you do a, okay, so if you do a head, it will show you you have a question? Okay, so here you see the last variable remodel was automatically converted into a factor because it is a character variable. But what if you want fireplace to be a factor as well? But it is a numerical variable because fireplace is coded as we have a fireplace is 1, no fireplace is 0, right? So it is really a factor variable, but it is coded as integer. So your string as factor is not going to work. So it is an integer variable. Now you want to convert that into a factor. Then what do you do? Okay, so then we can do as factor. Okay. Housing DF fireplace. Okay. Okay. Now this is not going to change the class of the variable in the data frame. Okay. So this is going to be only temporary. If you want it permanent, then you have to put it back into so convert it into a factor and put it back in the data frame. Okay. Now if you do a class so it tells you that it is a factor. Wait, I can't hear you. Yeah.
Whenever I typed in as factor into the housing.df and everything, it literally just shot down a bunch of ones and zeros.
Yeah, factor will create ones and zeros.
So it just,
Yeah. Yeah, because it is converting into a factor. So it's giving you the answer. So you need to put it back in, then you won't get the output. It'll go into the data frame. So if you just do this, it'll give you the result back into the screen. It won't save it anywhere. Okay? So you have to put it back in, then you won't see it in the screen, it'll go into the data frame. Okay. So then you can change the names. We already did this column names as vector here. We can change the column names, okay, one at a time. So for example, if you say call names, well, I need to put a code chunk. Call names, right, of housing DF. Okay. Now remember, this is going to generate a vector, right? So it's going to have all the column names, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Suppose we want to change the column name of the first one. Instead of a dot, say we want to have an underscore. Okay, just that one. Okay, then we can say the first one. Okay, so now this is a vector, and when you index with single square bracket and 1, so that means the first one. If you say 2, it will be 2, and so on. Okay, and then you can give it a name, and you give the name as a vector also. Say total value, right? So now this is going to be the value that will go into column names 1. So this will now become, okay, let's look at, so housing DF, we have total dot value, right? So now you run this code, okay, and then open it again. See the first one, the name has changed to total underscore value. Okay. So that is, if you want to change one column, you can do several at a time. Okay, so suppose we say we want column names of housing DF, right? So now instead of just one, suppose if we say C 1, 3, 6, for example. So what this is going to do is now you have to give 3 names. So those 3 names will go into the column names for the first column, the third column, and the 6th column. So say, so total value is TV, and then lot size for lot dot square foot, and then we say living square foot. Okay, so instead of living area. Now, if you run this code, those 3 changes will take place. Okay, here, the reason for the error is that I did not separate this with the proper number of quotation mark. So now, do I have it right? Okay, so right. So now, if you go to housing, then you see TV, lot size, and living square. Okay. Now we can change all the names. Okay, if you want to change all the names at the same time, then you don't have to specify a index. See, call names housing DF. Okay. Now the entire list of column names will be changed. So we already have the old names in C names. So if we did that, then it's going to put the same old names back in. So if you go back in here, then you see that all the old names are back. Okay. All right. You want, well, this is what we just did. Okay, if you want to create a vertical list of names, so if you did column names, it comes in as a vector like this. But if you want to arrange it as a column, then you can do this. You can, if you do T will convert everything into a matrix, right? Column names housing DF. So this will be a matrix with one row going this way. Okay. See the matrix going this way, and if you want to make the matrix go this way, transpose, then you do another T, and that will give it to you in a column.